The sun's out and lots of people are too, savouring the warm bank holiday weather outside cafes, pubs and bars. And from London to Leeds, it's the businesses themselves that are also feeling the heat. This Italian restaurant is in the constituency next door to the Chancellor's. Her budget last autumn has presented them with all sorts of problems.
It has been difficult. We are feeling a squeeze on our financials. We have tried our best to mitigate those costs, but effectively you do have to reduce your outgoing costs. And at the moment, that increase on national insurance and minimum wage, we have felt that particularly hard. We have 152 staff on our books at the moment. Whether you look at reducing your full-time members of staff or just hours alone, the bottom line is you do have to reduce that cost.
Might you be forced to look at cutting staff numbers?
100%, yeah. The bottom line is we are already doing that at the moment. We're not having to cut full-timers at the moment, but we're nipping either side of the shift, so we're taking 15 minutes at the start, 15 minutes at the end.
Others have had to make more drastic changes, with the rise in employers' national insurance hitting firms with lower paid workers especially hard. Analysis of data from the Office for National Statistics shows there's been an estimated 165,000 job losses since the budget in October. Of those, nearly 89,000 have been among hospitality firms. That's 53%. And the trade body for hospitality says it's only going to get worse.
I think, unfortunately, we are going to see more job losses coming, partly because we're seeing more business failures. That's accelerating. We're losing 2 hospitality sites and businesses a day at the moment, and so that will impact on job losses longer as we go forward. And also, summer is our busy trading period. This is when we should be staffing up, and instead we're shedding jobs. So you will see that accelerate as we go into the autumn, and you'll see more jobs cut, unfortunately. It could get as high as 200,000 jobs lost by next April.
The government says it's supporting pubs, cafes and restaurants by extending business rate relief, reducing the cost of licensing and cutting alcohol duty. Yet hospitality bosses like Stephen are adamant more needs to be done.
It's a really difficult decision at times to look at that workforce and think, where do we need to make those cuts? At the moment, we have managed to mitigate it by increasing revenue, but what we are finding is, as the months and years go on, especially with the Labour government, that is becoming particularly hard. There's no win at the end.
At this autumn's budget, business owners are clear what they want: a reverse to national insurance changes and a cut to VAT. Demands that may well differ to what's on offer.
Well, with me now is Richard Crampton-Platt, whose South London restaurant cafe Brittany closed down earlier this year. Thank you for joining us this evening. Your restaurant, what happened?
We opened in the late spring last year, and the opening period went very well. We had lots of fantastic press, but we were looking at our margins and trying to get desperately to break even. And right at that time that we were maybe about to find an extra 5-10%, Rachel Reeves announced what she did in the budget. And we just felt that it wasn't sustainable for us to keep the business going in light of all the additional costs.
Right, and those additional costs, what were they and how difficult did it make it to make the business a viable one?
So national insurance contributions and the minimum wage rise would have resulted in us having to cut 25% of our workforce. Now, of course, we're only a small business, but even 1 or 2 people makes a huge difference. Plus also business rates. So business rates for us would have gone up by about 140%. And we can't get rid of our lease. So that would be something that we'd have to pay for the next 5-10 years. And we just decided, with all the extra pressures of opening the business, that it was no longer worth it.
I mean, what was it like in that moment when you looked at those numbers and realised we can't do this? It must have been emotional,
yes.
Like the physical toll, everything.
So it took about 2 months for me to actually realise that the business, I'd have to close it. So it took 2 months just to process that. But yeah, needs must. And we did manage to walk away with some of the money left over, luckily, and maybe we'll do something again in future, but this wasn't the moment.
What about your staff?
We had to let them all go, and because I delayed, we unfortunately gave it to them as a Christmas present. So I'm not proud of that, but we were trying desperately to find a way through, and that was the best time for us to tell them.
And then you saw the numbers from the sector. How difficult is it in this moment to deal with all of these circumstances? It's almost like a perfect storm of everything at the moment.
Yes, rent goes up all the time, so do food costs, even chemical costs. Every single thing goes up, and at the same time, customers, they want to come to your restaurant, but they also want to go on holiday. They want to, give food to their dog or cat, and they have to cut it somewhere. And so, unfortunately, a lot of the time, restaurants are the first in the chopping line.
So what would you say to Rachel Reeves then? You seem to kind of blame her a little bit for your business going under. What would you say to the Treasury right now about what needs to happen to support businesses like yours?
It's mostly about legislation, I think. It's sort of a death by 1,000 cuts. Lots of small things add up and add up and add up, and it's been going on for 5-10 years before she even got in. It's in part, yes, extra taxation means we had to close our business, but we also had other problems as well. So yeah, I only blame her in part. Also, my business, it wasn't successful enough, so I have to take some of the blame myself.
Of course. And just in terms of whether you would open up another business, do you see that happening in this climate and this? And you're already nodding. I mean, you're already shaking your head, saying absolutely not. I don't want to do that.
Because you look 5-10 years ahead in your forecasts, and I fear that again the legislation in the next 5 years is going to get more and more restrictive. And so I'd rather hold my fire and wait for a moment where I feel like there's a bit more freedom for businesses to operate. Maybe that'll be in 5 years. It may not be, but at least for now, I've had to let my dream go.
In terms of like the next year, then looking at an outlook, do you see that as improving at all? Rachel Reeves talks about growth all the time. Do you see that happening on the near horizon?
Well, they have to take a more proactive approach to letting businesses get on with what they're doing. I've seen no symptoms so far that they actually wish to pursue that approach. So no, sadly.
Okay, Richard Crampton-Platt, thank you very much, former owner of Cafe Brittany. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.